No. Okay, we're gonna have to redo this because that isn't working.
We're leaving it. Hey, hi. I keep forgetting to stare at the.
Stare at this right here.
Hi, y'all. Clearly we still don't know what we're doing as far as YouTube videos go, but we are here anyway. You guys requested a story time video of how we met and got married in 28 days. And we are going to give it to you right now. All the dirty details. I'm kidding, there are no dirty details. But, because we don't actually even know if we both remember the story the same way. We've been married 3 years, so we haven't told this story in detail for a very long time, okay? I just cut my husband's hair. Y'all like his hair? I cut it just before the video, and his beard.
Don't he look handsome? He looks so pretty. It's so pretty.
Look at you, my little white Ken doll. Anyway, so I'm gonna start the story out. I was in, oh, by the way, disclaimer, because we are Christians, Christian things are a part of our life. If you are anti-Christian or anti-Jesus or any of those things, you might want to not watch this video, because there will be a lot of things said about Jesus and how we met and how Jesus had a part of that, and things of that nature. So if you do not like that, then you would this would be where you would exit the video. Okay, all right, now we're gonna get started. Sorry. So I went to Bible school for 2 years, and during these 2 years I did not date. I didn't even entertain the thought of dating. After I got out of Bible school, I told God, I remember I had gotten a job as a caregiver, and I was in my bedroom one day, and at the lady's house that I was taking care of, and I told the Lord, I said, Lord, I'm ready to get married. I think it's about the time for me to meet my husband. Send my husband. Days later, I can't remember if it was like 2 or 3, I get a friend request from this guy on Facebook. And I see his face on Facebook. I think he's a very handsome guy. I look through his pictures. I'm like, no, he's for sure very handsome. But, hold on, not yet. But I still didn't know who he was. And because we had the same friends on Facebook, I accepted his friend request, and he started instant messaging me, and we instant messaged for 1 full day, and then he fell off the face of the earth, and so did I. We went 2 separate ways. He ended up in a relationship with, what's her name? We'll call her Ann.
Past.
And then I ended up in a relationship with someone we will call Italian. We'll call him Italian. We'll call him the Italian. Both of us were in those relationships for about a year. So this was in 2011 when we initially met, and then in 2012 we reconnected. End of 2012. So it was the end of 2011 when we met. It was end of 2012 when we reconnected. So take it away, Pat.
I don't remember sending a friend request. I remember accepting a friend request, but it's my time to talk. It's my time to talk.
You sent a friend
People,
request.
do you want to hear her talk, or do you want me to hear? That's what I thought.
Yeah, you didn't even get the words out right.
I just being quiet.
You want to work me on your talk. Yeah, you go ahead. So what happened? Talk.
Okay, a year later, from the one day that we talked on Facebook, she sent the request. But
I did not.
a year later, she starts to stalk my photos on Instagram. Face guilty.
I already told y'all I was not stalking Patrick's photos. Go ahead, Patrick. Keep lying.
So a year later, this lady here starts stalking my photos on Instagram. first Facebook, now the Instagram. We're progressing through time. So I play along. She's liking my photos, and one day I'm posting a picture of a sunset, and she's like, "That's a beautiful sunset. Florida's better." Well, aren't you still?
That one part is true. Everything else was a lie. Go ahead.
And she's like, "Well, how are you in Louisiana now? I thought you were in Florida."
No. You said. I said Florida's better, and you said I know. I used to live there, and I said, well, how did you end up in Louisiana? And I thought to myself, stop doing that. I thought to myself, if he finds a way to send me his number, he means business. And not even 2 minutes later, I get a ding from like my phone on my instant messenger saying that Patrick Hagan has sent me a message. And so we messaged back and forth. No. He sent me his number. He said, if you really want to know how I ended up in Louisiana, here's my phone number. So I'm like, okay, I'll play the game.
See, it wasn't a game. See, I was working offshore, and offshore, if you know anything about it, you don't want to use your data. And Instagram is nothing but data. So I was like, all right, if you want to continue to stalk and text me on my Instagram, I'm just going to send her my phone number. If you really want to know, here's my number, just text me.
Is that what you really thought?
That's what I thought.
That's what you really thought. That's what you really thought.
One of the thoughts that
we might get a divorce after this video. Is that what you really thought?
What?
You really thought that?
Oh, partially, maybe. Half. There are many thoughts that travel through a man's brain.
We are gonna have such a conversation when this camera goes off. Anyways, he sends me his phone number. I text him. I'm like, I'll bite. So I'm like, so how did you end up in Louisiana? He texts me that whole day. At night, he goes, good night, Sansaray. He calls me on my full name. And I'm like, good night. And I'm
going on. You call somebody you don't know by a nickname?
My nickname was also posted on my Facebook as well as my full name. So, yeah. Anyway, so what is in my eyeball? So he texts me, good night, Sansaray, and I said, good night. The next morning, I get a text message around the time I would get up. See, he was getting up at like 4 a.m. to go to work. I don't get up until I was getting up at like 7:30 to be at work at 8:30. I get a text message around 8 o'clock that would say, good morning, Sansaray. The first thing I thought to myself was, only boyfriends do that. They say good morning, good night. And so I was like,
friendly people.
No.
Who in the conversation the day before pretty late, and then next morning I was already up for like 10 hours. Not even 10 hours. Maybe like, let me do the actual math. 5 hours. I was already up.
You still say good morning to somebody you don't know. Randomly.
How is that weird?
It's weird because we had just had a conversation for the first time. We'd never even met in person, and now you're telling me good morning. That's like some boyfriend girlfriend stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
All right.
So we text that entire day.
If you put a conversation on pause.
No.
At night,
we
the day
said
before.
good night.
Exactly. If you put it on pause and say good night.
This video cannot be 40 minutes long.
If you want to.
That night he says, good night, Sansaray, and I said, well, good night. The next morning, you want to lie on this one too?
I don't.
The next morning he says, good morning, Sansaray, and I'm like, okay. I think somebody's got a crush on that dark chocolate. Somebody's got jungle fever. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so he texts me that whole day. That night he texts me, good night, Sansaray. The next day I told myself, if he texts me this morning, good morning, I'm gonna ask him what's up. I didn't get a text that morning. Now this day was Sunday. I got a text from him at like 12 o'clock noon. He was in Louisiana, so that was
1 o'clock your time.
1 o'clock my time, 12 o'clock his time. Sorry. So I get a text, "Good afternoon, Sunray." And I'm like, we text for a little bit now. I find the stadium. "Can I be frank with you?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "What's up?" I said, "What do you want?" Christian boys don't text Christian girls unless they, like this repetitively, unless they want something. Excuse me. They don't go around wasting girls' time. They're taught not to. Unless they want something, they don't text this repetitively. And you said to me,
I was looking for my wife, and so I told her, I said, "Well, we seem to have been kicking it off the last few days, talking back and forth, and
you said I need to figure out if you're going to be my wife."
Exactly.
That's what he said. And I said, now, backstory to this. I had been praying and asking the Lord to send my husband. My daughter had been praying and asking the Lord to send her stepdad. And right before he appeared in our life, I had been praying and asking the Lord to send my husband, and I got this feeling the next day after I prayed that my husband was coming. I just got this feeling that he was on his way, like a package, like you ordered a package and you'd already ordered it and it was on its way, and so the excitement of knowing it could show up any day now. So I go to work and I tell another Christian friend of mine, and I go, her name was Nadia, and I go, "Nadia, I'm getting married," just like that. Nadia goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I prayed and I feel like the Lord's sending my husband." So when he says this to me via text message, that I need to find out if you're going to be my wife, I just responded, "Okay, well, let's keep praying about it and let's keep talking and let's just see what happens." You then did what? He freaked out.
How did I freak out?
You told me after we got married that you were freaking out because then I got a text message right after that says, "What? I just told you you might be my wife and you said okay? This is crazy. You're just as crazy as me." And I said, "No, I'm not crazy. I just have been praying about this, and my God answers prayers, so I was expecting you." And he had told me you had been fasting for how many days?
No, I had just gotten off a 21-day fast for that exact reason. I had just gotten out of a relationship that
We both had.
I thought I was going to marry my last
Person.
girlfriend, or whatever you want to call it. And it just felt like we kept on drifting further and further apart. We just had different goals in life. And, so then that ended. And, a few months went by, and, I was thinking about going out to Costa Rica for a mission trip, and, just really decided to go on a 21-day fast. I'd never really done any kind of fasting or anything like that before. But me and my friend Cody, we both decided we were gonna do this, and so we did. We went on a 21-day fast, water only, and 3 days later we had connected.
Equivalent of at the day of this reveal, the day that he said, "I think you might be my wife," and I said, "Okay, well, let's see what happens." Before the end of that day, he asked me to marry him. This just happened to be on Valentine's Day. Completely cliche. Neither of us wanted that to happen. And when I tell you that there was a force pulling us together, that neither of us had, I was thinking about this today before we did this Storytime video, and there is no way in my rational mind that I would have ever done this in real life. Like, I never would have thought, "Oh yeah, 3 days, yeah, we just made sure, yeah, let's get married. I'll bring my 12-year-old into this, and we'll just live a very happy interracial couple family." both of us were in interracial relationships before we met. He was with an African American girl, I was with a Caucasian man, and both of those were struggles. Those relationships were struggles, and neither of them wanted to commit. And we get together, and we, because we're both looking for the same thing and we've been praying for the same thing, it was like so fast.
Well, like peace and terror at the same time. Like,
there was peace and terror. There was peace and fear at the same time. It was like I had a peace about moving forward, but I was completely scared about what was happening. Okay, well, let me rewind. We made a list of questions and asked each other all the in-depth things that you really don't want to have to find out about somebody. Things that pertain to family, money, credit, future, sex, all of those things. We just made a list of questions and we just went through them just to see how compatible we were and if we wanted the same things. And none of our deal breakers were met. None of our, oh, that's a deal breaker for me, was met, and we still had a peace behind it. So we moved forward. 2 weeks later, we're talking on the phone, still getting to know each other, and I get this text message, and I remember feeling earlier that day, like, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. Like, just being apart, we actually ended up it felt like we had known each other forever in just a few days. And I remember one day feeling that pain of being separated from somebody that you love and care about, and I was just like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do the next 2 months. And later on that day, so I prayed about it. I'm like, Lord, I don't know how I can do the next 2 months. I need your help. Later on that day, I get a text message, and he literally says to me, as we're texting, had a little bit like a short conversation, you know, like, how was your day, yada yada yada. Then all of a sudden I get a text, and he literally says to me, I can't do it anymore. I'm coming down there. And I was like, what? And I think I actually dropped my phone on the bed. Like, I think I actually like dropped my phone, like, and you're like, yeah, I'm putting in my 2 weeks today, and I'm gonna be there in a week. You didn't even do 2 weeks.
No.
I think you did. Yeah, you put in your 2 weeks, and then
I left as soon as the boat came to shore.
Yeah, he put in his notice that day. So he saved all his money, worked a bunch of overtime hours, drove down, and I had to be at work later on that morning when he came down. You came on the 28th? Was it the 28th of February? He comes down, he drives all night. I drove all night to get to you.
See, I forgot to ask this question.
Oh, if I break out in random song.
Yes.
Just in case you guys are wondering, that's not my real singing voice. Who's stealing? Somebody's stealing. Stealing. And then you drove all night, and then you got to Tampa, Florida early, like 6 a.m. On March the 1st. I was getting Destiny up for school. Now, it's important to know that Destiny had been praying for a dad, and when he and I thought that we might be interested in getting together, he asked to speak with Destiny to kind of, just get to know her, and I felt safe. I felt like it was okay, and I let them talk to each other, and they ended up really hitting it off, and she just really liked him, and which then kind of fueled the, okay, maybe I can see what's going on, maybe I can see what's happening. So he comes down on the 1st. We moved all of his stuff in. This is the first time we're meeting. We went and got breakfast, and he was exhausted. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. And you was
worked
like,
an 18-hour shift, then drove from Louisiana to Florida. Yes, I remember part of it because I was sleeping while awake.
you told me you were like downing Monsters and like driving with like music blasting in the truck.
Not Monsters, because I'm not a Monster fan, but Red Bull. For all you Red Bull fans out there.
You look really...
Yes. A side effect from all the Red Bulls.
So, he gets to my house. We drop Destiny off at school. So he says hi to Destiny, drop her off at school. We go to get breakfast, and I'm talking, like trying to get to know this guy that just drove, 3, like, how many states is that? It's like 2 states?
It's like a 13-hour drive.
to get to me. And so I'm asking questions, we're talking, kind of laughing about how everything is coming together, and he literally is exhausted. So I can tell he's exhausted. We come back home, we move all of his stuff in. I had already cleared out half of the closet. We were serious about getting married, and he had still needed to meet my parents. We moved all of his stuff in. I put him in my bed and I went to work. Now, I came back from work and he went to meet my parents. It is.
First off, as soon as we got back from the restaurant, breakfast time, I fall asleep on her bed. She's already left for work, and her mother
Oh yeah.
comes creeping up the stairs.
My mom had a key to my apartment.
And I'm just sleeping. And so I peek, I'm not even under the covers, just sleeping on top of the covers. And I sleep on my stomach most of the time. It's probably not good. I fall asleep on my back, but then wake up on my stomach. I don't know why.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm sleeping on my stomach, and so she's over there, and she's just standing there staring at me for like the longest. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna let her do her thing, and then I'll meet her later.
He just pretended to be asleep.
I was asleep. I just decided I wasn't gonna fully wake up. She thought I was sleeping because she was super quiet and kind of weird. But
You ever met my mom? Well, you've seen a couple videos. She's a character in herself. So she just stared at him and he just didn't wake up. But he did go and meet them later on that night. The third day of him being in town, we went and got our marriage license. And in Florida, you have to wait, after you get your marriage license, you have to wait 3 days before you can actually get married. So we got our marriage license when we were fully sure that, yeah, we're still doing the right thing. And it was very important for us to not cross any boundaries during this process. Now, granted, we only were around each other for the equivalent of about 6 days. But 6 days in grown-up world, if you feel like you're in love with someone or you feel like they're your person, that's a long time. And both of us had been in relationships before where we crossed those boundaries sexually, and we didn't want to do that again. We just felt like that for the short amount of time we were going to be dating or non-married was so short that we really just wanted to enter into the marriage with a clean slate and not feel any kind of guilt or condemnation about what we did before that. And that's not to knock anybody that did it differently. That is just saying, for us, we just really wanted it to be different. And so we just made sure we didn't cross any of those lines. We got married 3 days after that in my parents' living room. Now you say, why? For months, actually for years, I'm sorry. For years I've been telling people I didn't want a wedding. I didn't want a big wedding. I just wanted to be married and start my life. And I had said it to the Lord. I had said it to others around me. I said, my parents are ministers. I'm just going to have them marry me in their living room. And when I brought it up to Pat actually, he wanted to throw me a wedding. But we both wanted our lives to start. And it was kind of like, we were like, okay, well, we can either wait 6 months, save up money, throw a small wedding, or we can get married, save the money we've had, and put it towards a house, put it towards our future, etc.
We ended up putting it towards a 6-month honeymoon type thing in California. So
yeah, we had quite an adventure in California. That was probably one of our biggest adventures, actually. Nice. Yeah, it was really great. But so after the 3-day period, we got our license. We went to my parents' house and we got married at midnight. It had to be like we couldn't even wait a full day at midnight.
I was ready to take her home.
We had my parents married, signed all the papers, went home, had our married night, and then the next day I went to work because life went on. And so we didn't have a honeymoon, so to speak, but that worked for us. In case you're wondering, Patrick's parents were fully on board. Anybody we told this story to, we were literally...
Which was very strange.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna get a lot of feedback from others saying, this is crazy, don't do this, this is not the Lord.
In my previous relationship, my parents, hey, it's almost been a year. We're talking about, hey, we might get married like a year out or like 2 years out or something. Just thinking about it. And they're like, well, let's not rush anything.
Yeah.
And 5 months down the road or 6 months down the road, that's like, hey, I'm talking to somebody, and we're getting married. We haven't really quite met in person yet, but we're getting married, like, right on. You know?
He told them a little bit about me and, where I come from and a little bit about my background, and they were completely on board. The first time I talked to his mom, she was just ecstatic that we were getting married, and she was like, I'm so happy my son has found you, thank you for marrying my boy. But anyway, our parents were on board. My parents, it's hard to say, my father was on board. My mother was apprehensive because she's my mother, she loves me, and she just was scared, as is my mother's personality.
She's like, who are you? Yeah. And who are your people?
It's exactly what she said to him, is who are you and who are your people? You're telling me you're gonna come here and marry my daughter. And my mother had seen me kiss a lot of frogs, like, throughout my dating history. So she was just scared, because now I'm saying I'm getting married, and not only am I getting married, my daughter in a sense is getting married, because this is gonna be her new dad, which she loves him, by the way, in case any of you are asking. Booby! How did you feel about your dad when you met him?
That emotionally impacted.
No.
That overwhelmed. Just nothing comes to mind.
He took me and my friends to, obviously. He took my friends to the park, so
He took you and your friends to the park?
Yeah. All I did was play with CJ. Anyways. But I think I knew he was the one when we got in the car. He took me to the grocery store. And when we were in the car, it wasn't awkward. Yeah. Because when I'm in the car with my real dad, it's like awkward.
Oh, and that's not a knock on her real dad. Her real dad is really sweet. They just don't get to spend a whole lot of time together. So I guess it can be a little awkward sometimes.
Yeah, and then when we got in the car, it was kind of like, it wasn't awkward, and we like had like easy conversations, so I was like, okay, he's the one.
And they've been kind of thick as thieves since that day. They gang up on me all the time.
That's not even true.
You do.
Can I have some of this?
It's like true.
Oh, this is yours.
See?
So happens when you have a young mom. She thinks kid talk. But none of that made any sense. On a Thursday. On a Thursday. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm singing. I just feel like I've heard that chorus somewhere. It may have been a Friday.
I'm pretty sure it's a Tuesday.
Tuesday? There you go.
And
on a Tuesday.
That's not it's the lyric, but not the rhythm.
Anyway. Well, guys, that is the end of how we met. I'm going to have to edit the crud out of this video because it's such a long story, and I'm going to have to cut it way, way down. But if you actually sat through the entire thing, kudos for you. Don't forget to share the video and subscribe and like the video. And we love you guys, and have a good night.
Nice.
Bye, y'all.
All right, later.